Daredevil. I know him pretty well, actually. End of the day, without question, he's one of the best. Ever. And I know there are a lot of people who think they know all there is to know about Daredevil and all his secrets. But I can tell you from personal experience that the information out there is pretty much crap. You know what? He kinda has a point. If you spend a lot of time online, you'll eventually see the same takes when it comes to Matt Murdock. He's a hypocrite, he's a bad boyfriend, he's selfish, self-destructive, he's a bad person. And while most of it isn't technically wrong, I do think it paints an incomplete picture. Because Daredevil is a character that a lot of people know by reputation, but not everyone gets the chance to dive deep into who he is as a person. And this isn't a dig at non-comic readers either. Even if you've read a respectable amount of Daredevil comics, chances are you've still read his most tragic, beaten down stories back to back. Which is completely fair, by the way, those are some of his best and most memorable stories. But by their very nature, they tend to show Matt at the lowest points in his life, which doesn't always paint him in the best light. Because the more time you spend with this character, the more you realize he's actually a lot more complex than his reputation would have you believe.
Enough of the dodgy bullshit. I deserve to know what is going on with you two, with you.
Matt Murdock makes mistakes. A lot of mistakes. Just so many mistakes. He lies, he cheats, he manipulates his friends. He has a lot of flaws. This video isn't meant to shield him from any criticism or justify those actions. I'm here to contextualize them, to shine some light on why they happen to begin with. Because when talking about Matt, context matters. Like I said before, his most well-known stories show him at his lowest points, when those flaws will inevitably come out. They often come from a need to keep his loved ones safe, which is a noble effort, only sometimes it loops around and backfires. And we get the lies, the manipulation. It can make him angry, possessive, sometimes even straight up abusive. This is the ugly side. This is Matt at his absolute worst. The problem is, those moments tend to overshadow everything else. The times when he's not at his worst. Not even necessarily at his best, just the moments where his better qualities get a moment to shine. So what does that look like? The best person to answer that question is none other than Foggy Nelson. The guy probably knows Matt better than anyone else. He's seen Matt at his absolute best, and he's definitely seen him at his absolute worst. You're not perfect. Sometimes you can be a real jerk. Not on purpose, just sometimes. But no matter what, you're a man of integrity. That is your defining characteristic. You can't see this, but it comes off you so strong that I have watched Avengers be intimidated by it, be inspired by it. Your integrity carries a weight you can't imagine. It has meaning. For all the mistakes Matt makes, Foggy is the one who gets him better than anyone else. And at the end of the day, Matt Murdock is a man that stands for what he believes in, and he'll fight for it. He'll fight for it as Daredevil, the superhero, and he'll fight for it as Matt Murdock, the lawyer. He doesn't have blind faith in the system, no pun intended. He knows it's flawed. That's why he's Daredevil. He wants to help. He wants to change things and try his best to make sure the system works the way that it should. Sometimes he does. Sometimes something changes for the better. Other times, not so much. But that won't stop him from trying. Now, does any of that excuse his flaws or his scrappy behavior? No, definitely not. Absolutely not. But it does put them in perspective. Because most of the time, they'll come out as a consequence of those virtues rather than opposed to them. They come from a need to protect whatever, and most notably, whoever he cares about. Especially at times when so much has already been taken from him. That's why Foggy calls integrity Matt's defining characteristic. Not because Matt's perfect, he isn't. Not because he always does the right thing, he doesn't. But because somehow he never stops fighting for what he believes in. And those beliefs are a lot more complicated than people give them credit for. And I would even say it's where another common misconception of Matt comes from. Because it feels like the conversation always circles back to one thing.
Or you might kill him, which would probably have the same effect on someone as Catholic as you are.
Matt Murdock is Catholic. I won't argue against that. That is just a fact. I will argue, though, that his religion in the past few years has been given more relevance than it really deserves. In fact, when it comes to Matt's beliefs and his faith, I would say that he has one above all else: the law. And it makes sense. I mean, Daredevil has been around since 1964. His religion wasn't mentioned at all until the mid to late 80s. And even then, it was barely a footnote, not something that should be a core character trait. I actually think it's been so overused in recent comics that his characterization has suffered from it. But you know what? I've ranted enough about some recent comics, so I'll hold back this time. The point is, historically, the law has always been more important to him. And you don't have to take it from me, take it from the man himself. Men like Bullseye would rule the world, were it not for a structure of laws the society has created to keep them in check. The moment one man takes another man's life in his own hands, he's rejecting that law and working to destroy that structure. If Bullseye is a menace to society, it is society that must make him pay the price. Not you, and not me. I wanted him to die, Nick. I detest what he does, what he is. But I'm not God. I'm not the law, and I'm not a murderer. I think this quote summarizes it perfectly. I'm not God. Ultimately, it is up to God to determine who lives and who dies. That's the Catholic part of his faith, showing it does exist. But it's not his entire argument. He goes on and he says, I'm not the law, highlighting the legal side of his dilemma, Matt's devotion to the law and how it shapes society. The law can sometimes determine that an individual should die through the death penalty, but it should be something determined by a jury with due process, not just by anyone. Otherwise, society collapses. But most importantly, he also says, I'm not a murderer. And that is just very Matt Murdock. It's like Foggy said in that panel from earlier. That's Matt's own personal integrity. He won't kill. That's not what he believes in. That's not who he is. He can't decide who dies because he's just some guy. It's not his decision. His gun has no bullets. That's a philosophy he's stuck with, for better or worse. Again, I'm not saying he isn't religious or that it isn't important to his character. Even if it wasn't intended to be a big thing, obviously characters are allowed to change and evolve. And comic book characters, particularly by the big two, desperately need to change and evolve. But in this one instance, I think boiling down Matt Murdock's belief system to just his Catholic faith is oversimplifying him as a character. It's there, but it's not his main motivation for the way that he thinks or the way that he acts. And it shouldn't be. There's so much more that goes into it, and by dumbing it all down to Catholic guilt, it takes a lot away from who Matt Murdock is. It makes him feel flat, one-dimensional, you know? When the reality is, this couldn't be further from the truth. He's an idealist above all else. He has faith in God, sure, but also in people. He has faith that the law can work, faith that even a broken system can be fixed, faith that people deserve a second chance. And that is why, despite everything, he never stops trying. Because over and over again, life gives him every reason to stop believing in each of those things. But somehow, he never does.
It ain't how you hit the mat.
It's how you get up. That's right.
There is something to be said about how Matt is always described as a dark, tortured, depressed, miserable character. Once again, not saying that's not true, but that notion comes largely from the majority of people only being familiar with Matt Murdock at his worst. Those are his best stories after all. Born Again, Out, Devil in Cell Block D. I mean, who is going to write a story about Matt Murdock having a normal, good day? And how many people would even read it? I would, for the record. I think the guy could use a break. But the point is, there are a lot of those stories, right? Matt having a bad day is a staple of a good Daredevil comic book. Sometimes it works out better than others, but it is significant that there are so many of those, good and bad. Because it tells you that no matter what, no matter how many times he gets knocked down, Matt will always find a way to get back up. And he'll always find the strength to do it. It's a pattern that repeats all throughout his life. He lost his sight, his father died, Elektra died, Heather died, he lost everything, Glory died, Karen died, his secret identity got exposed, he went to prison, Milla was institutionalized, he got possessed by a literal demon. Each and every time, he kept going. He kept fighting. At the end of the day, all these stories shouldn't only be defined by how much Matt suffered. They should be defined by how he survived, by how each time he's able to overcome it all and keep going. Sometimes without even knowing how he's still able to do it. He ain't the strongest of us, he ain't the flashiest, but Daredevil cannot be brought down. It cannot happen. I have fought the Fantastic Four, the Avengers, and other superpowered humans, but none has been more courageous than he, the most vulnerable of all. The reason why Daredevil keeps fighting, the reason he keeps getting back up, the reason he refuses to kill, the reason he still believes in the law despite all the signs telling him not to, the reason he still puts on the mask every single day, it all comes down to hope and faith. Hope and faith that things can and will improve. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, maybe not for many years to come. But he will fight for it. He will make sure he's doing everything in his power to make that change happen. Whether he needs to run around as Daredevil forever or give up his honestly best chance at happiness just on the possibility of making a massive important change to the way a courtroom works. He'll do it. Matt Murdock is a hypocrite. He is a bad boyfriend. He is selfish. He is self-destructive. But he's not a bad person. He's a guy who was dealt a bad hand. And in turn, he'll occasionally go and make sure to grab some more bad cards just for good measure. But ultimately, he is a guy trying to do good. He's a guy that'll fight for his city, his community, and especially for the people that he loves. Daredevil isn't defined by how many times he falls. He's defined by how many times he finds a way to get back up. Not because he has to, but because he wants to. If you want more videos like this, here's a similar one about one of Daredevil's biggest enemies, and how he compares to his show counterpart. Thank you very much for watching. Please leave a like if you enjoyed it, it really helps out the channel. If you like Daredevil and street level Marvel in general, please consider subscribing. That's all we talk about here. I'll see you again soon. Bye!